Welcome to another episode of my video lesson. Here's your teacher once again, Teacher Arlene, at your service. For today's lesson, I'm going to present to you about a story and what are the elements of the story. For sure, many of us loves to listen, to watch, or even read a story, especially if we really like the story. So there are different kinds of stories, like fairy tales, true-to-life stories, and of course, love stories. In these stories, there are different kinds or genre of stories like comedy, drama, horror, sci-fi, and even the rom-com, or we call it romantic comedy. There are lots of stories to choose from. Anything that suits your mood or interest. Today I'm going to teach you about the elements of a story so that if you wanted to write your own personal stories, you will be having your own ideas on how to make a good one to catch the interests of your readers. So, come and join me until the end of this video lesson. And to begin with, let us watch this video story about 11 by Sandra Cisneros.
"11" by Sandra Cisneros. What they don't understand about birthdays and what they never tell you is that when you're 11, you're also 10 and 9 and 8 and 7 and 6 and 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. And when you wake up on your 11th birthday, you expect to feel 11, but you don't. You open your eyes and everything's just like yesterday, only it's today. And you don't feel 11 at all. You feel like you're still 10, and you are underneath the year that makes you 11. Like some days, you might say something stupid, and that's the part of you that's still 10. Or maybe, some days, you might need to sit on your mama's lap because you're scared, and that's the part of you that's 5. And maybe, one day, when you're all grown up, maybe you will need to cry like if you're 3. And that's okay. That's what I tell Mama when she's sad and needs to cry. Maybe she is feeling 3. Because the way you grow old is kind of like an onion, or like the rings inside a tree trunk, or like my little wooden dolls that fit one inside the other, each year inside the next one. That's how being 11 years old is. You don't feel 11. Not right away. It takes a few days, weeks, even sometimes even months before you say 11 when they ask you. And you don't feel smart 11. Not until you're almost 12. That's the way it is. Only today, I wish I didn't have only 11 years rattling inside me like pennies in a tin Band-Aid box. Today, I wish I was 102 instead of 11 because if I was 102, I'd have known what to say when Mrs. Price put the red sweater on my desk. I would have known how to tell her it wasn't mine instead of just sitting there with that look on my face and nothing coming out of my mouth. Who's this? Mrs. Price says, and she holds the red sweater up in the air for all the class to see. Whose? It's been sitting in the coat room for a month. Not mine, says everybody. Not me. It has to belong to somebody, Mrs. Price keeps saying, but nobody can remember. It's an ugly sweater with red plastic buttons and a collar and sleeves all stretched out like you could use it for a jump rope. It's maybe 1,000 years old, and even if it belonged to me, I wouldn't say so. Maybe because I'm skinny. Maybe because she doesn't like me. That stupid Sylvia Sullivan says. I think it belongs to Rachel. An ugly sweater like that, all raggedy and old. But Mrs. Price believes her. Mrs. Price takes the sweater and puts it right on my desk. But when I open my mouth, nothing comes out. That's not. I don't. You're not. Not mine, I finally say in a little voice that was maybe me when I was 4. Of course it's yours, Mrs. Price says. I remember you wearing it once. Because she's older and the teacher, she's right and I'm not. Not mine, not mine, not mine. But Mrs. Price is already turning to page 32 and math problem number 4. I don't know why, but all of a sudden, I'm feeling sick inside, like the part of me that's 3 wants to come out of my eyes. Only I squeeze them out shut tight and bite down on my teeth real hard and try to remember today I am 11. 11. Mama is making a cake for me for tonight. And when Papa comes home, everybody will sing, Happy birthday, happy birthday to you. But when the sick feeling goes away and I open my eyes, the red sweater is still sitting there like a big red mountain. I move the red sweater to the corner of my desk with my ruler. I move my pencil and books and eraser as far from it as possible. I even move my chair a little to the right. Not mine, not mine, not mine. In my head, I'm thinking how long till lunchtime? How long till I can take the red sweater and throw it over the schoolyard fence? Or leave it hanging on a parking meter, or bunch it up into a little ball and toss it in the alley. Except when math period ends, Mrs. Price says loud in front of everybody, Now, Rachel, that's enough. Because she sees I've shoved the red sweater to the tippy-tip corner of my desk, and it's hanging all over the edge like a waterfall. But I don't care. Rachel! Mrs. Price says. She says it like she's getting mad. You put the sweater on right now, and no more nonsense. But it's not. Now, Mrs. Price says. This is when I wish I wasn't 11, because all the years inside of me, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 are pushing at the back of my eyes when I put one arm through the one sleeve of the sweater that smells like a cottage cheese, and then the other arm through the other, and I stand there with my arms apart like if the sweater hurts me. And it does, all itchy and full of germs that aren't even mine. That's when everything I've been holding in since this morning, since when Mrs. Price put the sweater on my desk, finally lets go. And all of a sudden, I'm crying in front of everybody. I wish I was invisible, but I'm not. I'm 11, and it's my birthday today. And I'm crying like I'm 3 in front of everybody. I put my head down on the desk and bury my face in my stupid clown sweater arms. My face all hot and spit coming out of my mouth because I can't stop the little animal noises from coming out of me until there aren't any more tears left in my eyes. And it's just my body shaking, like when you have the hiccups, and my whole head hurts, like when you drink milk too fast. But the worst part is right before the bell rings for lunch. That stupid Phyllis Lopez, who is even dumber than Sylvia Solivar, says she remembers the red sweater is hers. I take it off right away and give it to her. Only Mrs. Price pretends like everything's okay. Today I'm 11. There's a cake Mama's making for tonight. And when Papa comes home from work, we'll eat it. There'll be candles and presents, and every day we'll sing Happy Birthday, Happy Birthday to you, Rachel. Only it's too late. I'm 11 today. I'm 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. But I wish I was 102. I wish I was anything but 11. Because I want today to be far away already. Far away, like a runaway balloon, like a tiny O in the sky. So tiny, tiny, you have to close your eyes to see it.
Okay, now that you've finished watching the video lesson, how do you feel now while watching the video? Do you sympathize on the feelings of the main character in the story? What can you say on the teacher, on how he treats her pupils or students? Is she unfair or fair in treating her students? If you were on the shoes of Rachel, would you also be happy in celebrating your birthday? Why or why not? So, those are only the questions that might come across on your mind while watching the story. So, let us define what is a story.
Stories are accounts of imaginary or real people and events told for entertainment. It has 5 basic but important elements. These 5 components are the characters, the setting, the plot, the conflict, and the resolution. These essential elements keep the story running smoothly and allow the action to develop in a logical way that the reader can follow.
In reading the story, there are lots of things you can learn. So, here are the things that you will get in reading the story. First, it will help you broaden your thinking ability. Number 2, it will help you become a creative thinker. Why? Because you are going to use your imagination. And believe me, in imagining things, sky is the limit. Number 3, it will make you become a wide reader. Why? Because the more stories you will read, the more knowledge that you will gain in reading stories. It will also widen your vocabulary words. What does a story made of? So, here are the elements of a story.
There are 5 basic elements of a story. We have characters, setting, plot, conflict, resolution. The first element of the story is settings. It is the time and place in which the story unfolds. The time could be in the past, the present, or the future, during the day or the night, in any season. The place or scene may be imaginary or real.
Now let's talk about the settings. It is not just telling where or when did the story happen. It has something to do also on how the settings are being told or narrated creatively by the writer, so that it will not become a boring story. Creating a very catchy, attractive description of your settings would probably gain much attention and interest of your readers. For example, in telling time, and it goes like this. Once wonderful day, one fine morning, or the famous lines in every story is like once upon a time. You can also think of any time or descriptions that you would like in your own creative way. For example, in telling place, and it goes like this. In a faraway land, in the deepest blue ocean, in a dark and spooky forest. So, those are the example of lines in telling the settings in a story. The next element of the story is characters.
two types of characters. The first one is main characters. It is a central character that acts as the focus of the reader's or audience's emotional attachment to the story. For the main characters, it is not only the hero we are talking about, because in the main characters there are two main characters, and the first one is the hero. Hero is the chief male or female character in a book, play, or movie who is typically identified with good qualities and with whom the reader is expected to sympathize. And the second main character is the villains. On the other hand, is also another character from the story. This often refers to as the evil from the story. Another type of character is the minor character. These are the characters in the story. They are not as important as the major characters, but still play a large part in the story. Their action helps drive the story forward. They might impact the decisions the protagonist or antagonist make, either helping or interfering with the conflict.
Now, if you are the writer of your story, you must also describe the attitude of each characters that you made up, so that your readers might understand the attitude of each characters. The next element of a story is the plot.
Plot consists of several events. The events tell the action and conflict that leads to its climax and conclusion. It is the storyline plan or scheme.
Now, in telling plot of the story, there are literary devices of plot, and here they are.
The first literary devices of plot is chronological sequential arrangement of events. It is the normal way in presenting the plot. For chronological sequential arrangement of events, here are the order. First, exposition. It provides background information, setting, and information about the characters. Followed by rising action. It introduces and develops conflict, main problem faced by the characters. Followed by climax. It shows the highest point of interest, suspense, and turning point of the story. Another is the falling action. It shows how the characters solve the problem or conflict or ties up loose ends. And lastly, the resolution. It shows how things end up in the story. So how it is done by chronological sequential arrangement of events.
When we talk about chronological sequential arrangement of events, it is written, or the plot is in a proper order. It starts with exposition, and then the second one is followed by rising action, and then the third it will become climax, and then after climax it will go down into a falling action and ended up with a resolution. So that is how the plot is being arranged in chronological sequential arrangement of events in plot. The next literary device of plot is called in medias res.
In medias res. This is a Latin phrase which means into the middle of things. Unlike the direct narration pattern of story events, another related story is narrated inside the main plot line. It is narrating from the midpoint rather than the beginning, usually opening with a dramatic action rather than the exposition.
In medias res is a Latin phrase which means in the middle of things. So, unlike the traditional plot at the beginning of the story, this time in medias res is different because it started at the midpoint of the story. So how it goes? It started right away at the climax of the story, the battle of the story, or the conflict in the story. Okay, so if you are planning to write your own story using in medias res, you started right away at the action, the climax of the story. So what is the example of this in medias res? So the best example of this is the story of Homer, the Iliad and Odyssey, which is started at the fight between Achilles and Agamemnon. So it is also used in different action movies, right? If you will observe, some movies started right away with conflict, with fights, right? So those are the examples of in medias res. The next literary device in plot is the flashback.
Flashback. This device presents to the reader all or most of the events that have taken place before the events that are currently unfolding in the story. The events may be past narratives by characters of their dreams or memories to create a background to the present situation, place, or person. This may be placed at the beginning or may be inserted into the normal chronological order of events.
In the flashback literary device or plot, the writer or the author are using flashbacks. When we say flashbacks, the memories happen from the past. So how it goes? How does the author do this? So when they are writing the story, they are presenting or telling the story from the past of the characters. The things happen from the past, and then after that, they will go to the present happening, and after that, they will insert again another flashbacks, and then they will go back again to the present happening. So that is how the plot using the flashbacks. So if you are a writer, when you are going to use flashbacks, then these are the steps on how to make or write a plot using flashbacks. We are now on the fourth element of the story, which is conflict.
Conflict. Every story has a conflict to solve. The plot is centered on this conflict and the ways in which the characters attempt to resolve the problem. When the story's action becomes most exciting right before the resolution, it is called the climax.
When we talk about conflict, there is a problem arises in here. There is a problem that the main characters must resolve. Right? So when we say conflict, it is also included the climax of the story, wherein it is also the most exciting, the most thrilling, the most interesting part of the story, wherein we are going to try to guess who will win in this conflict, whether the hero or the villains. The last element of the story is, we call it
Resolution. The solution to the problem is the way the action is resolved. It is important that the resolution fit the rest of the story in tone and creativity and solve all parts of the conflict.
Resolution is, we call the ending of the story. So it shows how the main characters already resolved the problem. They already won the conflict. So here we can tell now how the story your own story using these elements of the story. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you for watching my video lesson about elements of the story. And once again, this is your English teacher, Teacher Arlene. Always remember, in English, we learn together, we rise together. So, that's all for now. Thank you and God bless.